Okay, we're going to get into some details today and looking at things like um, simple outlines or edges or shadows. Sometimes it might be snow, depending on what it is that shows up in your images. Sometimes it might be finding shadows like this to kind of help define certain objects in your scene. A lot of times we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible. And so that's not the right image. A lot of times it can be made very stylized and very simple with clean, sharp edges like this. That's still a very cool look, and I like that too. So thinking about how you want to create some lines and some detail in your background without making it overly complicated. Finding big chunks of like shadows or different places where different colors kind of change the shape of things. That's what I really want to focus on here. So keeping it simple, finding some details that help give your background a little bit more. Because this looks fine. I can see that it's a background. I see that it's a landscape. And for some parts of your landscape, this might be okay just to leave certain chunks without anything on it. There's not a problem with that. You can see in this example where there's just a flat shape. That's way off in the distance. It's not going to have a whole lot of detail. Things up closer might have more detail in it than the things that are further away. So that's really what I want to focus on with this lesson. And this one right here, we'll look at is the sky. Sky can be simplified very easily. A lot of you might have clouds, and I'm going to start with that. I'm going to kind of hide some of my layers here so I can see a good visual of the clouds. Now my cloud layer, my sky layer is just plain white. Again, the colors don't matter here, so I can make this look how I want it to. I'm going to use a pen. I'm going to choose a fill. Actually, I'm going to choose a fill later. I'm going to turn the fill off, and the stroke is off. And what I want to do is create a path up here that kind of outlines my clouds. I'm not going to do every single cloud. I'm going to choose which ones I want to show. This is my poster, so I'm going to make the audience see what I want them to see. So I want them to see this big cloud right here. So what I'm going to start to do is lay out a path that shows them that cloud. And maybe there's like some simple parts of the cloud that I want to simplify. It doesn't matter what's happening off on the outside parts. I'm doing very straight edge. I don't have curves in my scene, so I'm keeping it kind of straight edge. And you know what? I'm going to cut off the cloud right here. That's the way it is. So continue my cloud way out here. That's one cloud. Maybe I want this little wispy cloud up here. I'll add that up here. Maybe I want a cloud that's down here just to show something off in the far, far distance. That's fine with me. So now I've got a few new paths right here. They've got nothing added to them though. And so what I want to do is select those paths, and I want to change the properties of those and give them a fill. Just anything darker than the sky is all I'm really looking for. I think that color is slightly darker than the sky. And so if I go to other paths here and apply some of the same colors, I can shift select these dots over here to make sure they're all going to be the same. Go to the fill, hit that, choose the color. I can change the colors later. This right here is great. Those all belong as the same kind of thing. Those are clouds, right? So I'm going to take those clouds, I'm going to shift select them, and I'm going to group them together. I want to create a group of these. So I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go to Group. You can also do Control G. So I've grouped them. Call this group Clouds. All right, and let's say, I I forgot that one. That one should be in my cloud group. So I'm going to take that one and I'm going to drag it up here too and throw it in that. So if you miss something, these are my clouds. My clouds don't belong up on top of everything. My clouds should be behind my background here. So I'm going to take these clouds and move them down here. Now I can't really see a whole lot of difference. It's the same color as this right here. If I wanted to take these clouds and select them and change all the colors of them at the same time, this makes it really easy to do. So let's say just for now, I just did that. I can see now it's behind this right here. If I wanted to shift this group around, I can select that group, I can select it, and I can move it. If I want to shift them a little bit, make a little bit of change, then that's fine. I can do that. So I like the way that looks because it outlines kind of the top of that mountain there. So I've taken this image and I'm starting to customize it now to make it my own. Now what I want to do is take a look at these mountains. Okay, this mountain right here. And I want to add some detail to it. One way I can do that is real easy. I can go to properties. I can go to, let me select it first. I can go to stroke and I can choose a darker stroke or even a black stroke if I wanted to. I can choose a different color for a stroke on that mountain and I can make it wider as well. So I can outline that mountain, make it look really buff, right? I have a 6 point, maybe let's go 5 point, that's easy to remember. 5 point kind of stroke on this. If I wanted to add some more detail to this, I definitely could. An easy way to do that is to go to this mountain layer. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to look at what can I create lines for? What can I create, shapes for shadows? Okay, so I'm going to use my pen tool because I'm going to do this with paths, and I'm going to keep the fill off. I'm just going to do this with a stroke for right now. And on this layer, I'm just going to create some lines. I'm going to create some lines that kind of outline part of the mountain. Okay, I'll do that. That's one. I can do another one like down here. That's another one. I can continue right here and add on to a path if I wanted to. So I can keep adding on this way. I can add on stroke like this and just keep on going. I can make this as detailed as I want it to be. So I can find different points and different details that I want to kind of highlight here. If I want the shape of the mountain to kind of stand out a little bit more, this line right here. If I decide I need to move some of these around, I can select these anchor points and slide them around. Now this looks okay. I created a lot of paths here. Now I can, same thing as before, I can take all of those paths. I can do Control G and it put them all into a group. Oops, let me do that again. Let me do it all here. Select all of these and do Object, Control G or group. Now they're all in this group right here. I'm going to take this one also and throw it in that group. And I'm going to call these edges, right? And so now I can take those edges and move those where I want them to be. And I can turn on my other layers and see what things are looking like. So now I've got some outlines. I've got some details here that I can kind of play around with. If I can see everything together, I can go back and kind of make them all fit together. I can move these lines, make them connect. Now I've got a few more details in that background I can work with. I can go back and add some shadows to that as well. I can add some more details to this. If I'm going to add something like shadows, then I can do that by selecting an object. That's this layer right here. I'm going to turn off these others so they're not distracting me. I'll look at this, and I can add some lines to that too. Okay, I can make big shapes of lines. I can make small shapes, do whatever I want with them. Now I can take these edges that I just created. Where are they at? Here they are. And I can take those and work with that width tool. And if there's parts of this that I want to expand, kind of add some more to, like maybe there's some thickness to these lines, that kind of adds kind of a cool feature to it, because now it's not just these boring little straight lines. I can make it a little bit more customized, and it adds like a little bit more detail to it, makes things stand out a bit more. A lot less ordinary than just keeping it like a straight line, adding some thickness to it. So that kind of works. I can take that and move some lines around if I need to, like that. And just take some customizing. So everyone's picture is going to be a little bit different. You might not need to do any kind of lines or things like this in your shape, in your details. Again, the colors don't matter, and the colors look quite terrible the way I have them right now, but that's going to be a later thing that we end up working with. And we'll deal with those colors later. So these are not going to stay yellow clouds. Anyhow, this is kind of how we're working with this this project. We're going to go through, start adding clouds, start adding shadows, start adding extra lines and details on things to help you get some, I guess, be able to see a little bit more in your background. I'm going to add like a new line right there. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to choose a different color, maybe a dark color, and find something like here. Like that is fine. I'll work with that. Oops, I didn't want a fill. Actually, I wanted a stroke. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn on the stroke dark color and do something like that. Turn this up and kind of play around with what I got here. So this line, I can play around with that with this tool. I don't like the way that edge sits there, so I'm going to extend it off this way. Go back to my width tool, and I can make things skinnier, maybe make things wider again. So you can kind of add different types of depth, different types of width to your lines if you think it makes it look better. I feel like this could probably be made a lot wider with that width tool. So if I select right here, same thing right here, kind of widen that, make it thicker. Shape things, make them look a little bit different. I can take that, add a stroke to it as well, since I didn't add a stroke before. Add a stroke to that. And start to customize how this looks. The width tool is a good tool to work with. Kind of adds a little bit more custom look to your shapes here. So adding a little bit of detail, adding a little bit of thick and thin lines to help show like shadows or edges, that kind of thing is going to be very helpful in this. Adding some definition for clouds if you have clouds. I really don't like the color of those clouds, so I'm going to change that. It's really bugging me. I know the colors don't really matter, but oh my gosh, why did I choose yellow? That looks terrible. So I'm going to take that and choose something like that. That looks way better. So I'm going to continue on down the line here. I'll probably, as I get closer up to the front, make better choices as far as colors, as far as stroke goes. I think colors are going to be better if they're a little bit darker. This path right here is one that I created. It should go above that layer. And I'm going to take that path and I'm going to also make that a darker stroke as well, so it kind of matches some of the other ones. As I come up forward, I'll start adding a little bit more detail. These are all pretty simple lines, and as I get closer, maybe the details are going to start to show up a little bit more, shadows in the trees and so on. So work on adding some details, creating some edges, creating areas where you'll have shadows. Again, the color's not a huge thing right now. We'll come back and add more specific colors later.